I tend to live by the idea that like everything is going to be okay in the end. We just don't know how yet. That's how I try to think about money. The money is on its way. It just is. It's always on its way. As long as you're working towards it, it's on its way. It's going to come. Opportunity is everywhere.
One of the most challenging things I think for any artist or maker or designer is to try to be creative when you are completely burned out. And I know a lot of you are doing this for the art, right? You have a business designing beautiful jewelry because you love the art of making jewelry. But what happens when you're not inspired anymore? How do you get back to that creative inspiration? Well, if you've ever felt that way, or you are wondering, how to get re-inspired by your business again, then you're gonna love this episode today. Hey there, I'm Tracy Matthews. I'm the Chief Visionary Officer of Flourish and Thrive Academy, the host of the Thrive by Design podcast, and the author of The Desire Brand Effect, Stand Out in a Saturated Market with a Timeless Jewelry Brand. And I help jewelry business owners launch, grow, and scale successful businesses using online methods to help them scale to 6, multiple 6, and 7 figures. And I'm excited today to have Morgan McGoff of Skinny Dip Jewelry on the show today to talk about her experience in overcoming burnout and getting to a place where she felt creatively inspired again. It's not what you think. So let's dive in to today's episode. I'm so excited to have Morgan McGoff of Skinny Dip Jewelry on the podcast today. Morgan, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I wanted to have you on here because we were chatting in the Instagram DMs. You're a graduate of our TYC program, and you were sharing some really fun things and not so fun things with me in the Instagram DMs about kind of where you were at this time last year. So I asked you to come on the podcast to kind of talk about your experience going from being in extreme burnout to actually feeling creatively inspired again, because I know a lot of people experience that. I know that I went through a big phase of burnout, I don't know, a couple months ago, and I talked about it a little bit more on the podcast. So I want to thank you first and foremost for being on the show with us today.
Oh, of course. I feel so flattered to be here.
It's awesome. And I know that this episode's going to help a lot of people. So I want to kind of start from the beginning. Tell me a little bit about how you got started into making jewelry. Like, how'd you get your brand launched? Like, tell me all the things.
Well, foundations of jewelry were passed down to me through two matriarchs of my family, my mother and my aunt. I started making like wire jewelry, beaded jewelry. We even taught classes. I was in early high school, I think. And so I just had all of this knowledge stored. And the way it started was I was in a bad place. I just mentally, emotionally, I was really homesick. I was living in Idaho at the time. And yeah, my mom would send me care packages, and I got this care package that had clay in it, like Sculpey clay,
Mm-hmm.
and got to playing with it. And as one does, I posted on Instagram, and it kind of just spiraled from there. And yeah, somehow now I'm here.
I love that. That's so great. So what were you doing in Idaho?
Idaho is gorgeous. It's an outdoor playground. I actually went to Sun Valley as a kid as well. Very, very fortunate and privileged to be able to go there. Such a gorgeous place. So I had that in my mind when I left on a road trip. I was on the road for about 3 months. The plan was to find a place to live. Ended in Boise, Idaho, and stayed. Just a gorgeous spot. And what was so nice about that place is the artist community was it was kind of new. It was young, and everyone was really inspiring and inspired, and we all really propelled each other. And a few of the artists that came out of that area are just outrageous. There's one artist who, Dreyfus, she came out of that spot, and she's like the new Mr. Doodle. She's an illustrator. She's
Really?
wonderful.
I'm going to check her out.
You really should. She makes these characters called alter egos. They're really fun. But yeah, I started it there. After I've had quite a few businesses. I went to school for photography. I went to art school, and I started photography businesses, paid my bills with weddings, which not for me. And then I found myself so inspired by people starting businesses that I kind of interjected wherever I could to help them. And I started consulting, and before I know it, I'm helping friends build businesses. And then one of my friends and we started a flower cart business together.
Fun.
And I had been, while in this, searching for something that was all my own. I had never done anything really besides photography, but still, even that doesn't feel very solo to me. So yeah, jewelry just really fit in, and I found my voice, which is really wonderful.
So you mentioned briefly before that you started doing it because of a care package that your mom sent with the metal clay or the clay. I don't know if it was metal
Yeah.
clay, but
Yeah,
clay.
no, actually, it's polymer clay. It's like
Polymer
the
clay.
cheapest kind of polymer clay that you can have. No one should use it for retail purposes. But I started making these shapes, and I thought these make great earrings. I went to the store that day, got the materials, made it all. I'm very much, once I have my mindset on something, it like has to happen then. So I did that, posted them on Instagram as one does as a millennial.
Yeah.
And before I knew it, I had friends asking for items, and I hate to even think about those items where they are now, because I'm sure
We
like
all have those in
we
our,
all have those.
sometimes they come out of the woodwork and people are like, I'm still wearing that piece that
I
I
have
bought
some
from
friends that
you.
still
I'm
do,
like,
and
that's
I'm
nothing
like,
like I first designed. I'm like, that's not even close to what I'm doing now.
not at all. But yeah, started there, and yeah.
That's great. So we were talking in the pre-show, just catching up a little bit. Tell me, where did the name Skinny Dip come from?
In Idaho. Actually, even here in Cincinnati, when I was living in a little cabin, we had a little pond, and I went skinny dipping a lot. And I did that in Idaho as well. And there was just this one experience I had. I was on this yoga retreat in the like second largest canyon in the US in Idaho in the backcountry. You have to drive either 5 hours or boat upstream to get to this place. I'm so fortunate. And I went skinny dipping with some people that were on the retreat. And I just remember looking up, I saw the Milky Way galaxy, and I was not just nude physically, but nude mentally and emotionally. I
Mm.
just felt like so in myself. And skinny dipping kind of made the perfect metaphor for me, that you can be nude with yourself. Skinny dipping, being in the skinny for me is living life authentically. And
Mm.
that's what I am always aiming to encourage people through my voice.
I love that. I
Thank
love
you.
that. Living life authentically. Because I'm like, I don't think of like skinny dipping when I look at your jewelry, but that totally makes sense with your brand story. I hope you're using that a lot because it's a great thing to really put out there. The
Oh yeah.
authenticity piece.
Yeah, I mean, I share a decent amount of myself with my audience, with boundaries, but I have been through some traumatic events in my life, which have taken me to therapy, that have just, I've had anxiety my whole life, and it's so nice finally that we're living in an age where we can talk about those things. And I do truly, truly believe that when one voice comes out, others can as well, or they can at least resonate. And, you question yourself, like, is this really even helping anybody?
Oh, it for
And,
sure is. You're going to be
oh,
helping a lot of people by sharing this right now.
oh, that's sweet. I mean, that really is my passion. I love to help people. I love to empower people. I I've been lucky enough to have a decent amount of confidence in life, and I just I just have this passion to see so many people be themselves in this world that feels very fake sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, sharing those stories, sharing that vulnerability and that authenticity of what really resides in me. I've had so many people come to me. I've had people come to me asking me about therapy and all sorts of things, and they follow up with me, and I have serious relationships with my customers, and not just my customers but my audience, and it's fulfilling.
That's so awesome. Not the anxiety and the therapy, but it's real, and that's the thing. It's like we all go through things. I have a more anxious style personality too. I carry a lot of anxiety or I have in the past. I do a lot of work on myself. So I do a lot of work in other dimensions. Like I'm like one of those people who's like always working like all the fields. So what I would say though is like sometimes when you're caught up in that, it can not only cause the anxiety, but it can be debilitating if you're not dealing with it. So I know that a lot of people, like anytime I have someone on the podcast where they're talking about, and I'm just going to use this term broadly, but like mental health issues, not that anxiety is like necessarily a mental issue. It's just, to me, what it
No, it
feels like
is.
is a feeling,
I
you
would
know what I
say
mean? But they are always so grateful because they're like, oh, there's other people out there who are experiencing the same thing. Because I don't think it's something that people like to admit to having, because we come out in the world, we put this brave face on, but like, you know, if I'm honest, like I have meltdowns almost every day. So it's not like,
yeah,
it's just real life, you know, that's what it is.
And I mean, what's tough about that is, realizing when you need help is really tough. And seeing the things about yourself that make you feel really uncomfortable are so important, but it's so hard. And just being able to be a light for that. I just think if you can talk about it, you should. I think that we all have a voice, and your vulnerability is what makes you human, I feel.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And so one of the things when we were like going back and forth on Instagram, when I was like, I want to have you on the show, you shared with me that last year, I think it was probably around this time, maybe a little bit later in the season, you were in kind of this phase of extreme burnout. Do you want to share a little bit about what was going on with you?
Yeah, man. I just came to this place. I think honestly it was like riding off of the pandemic push, like I
Yeah.
like to call it. And I just don't think that I ever reconciled those feelings. And I just kept pushing. And, like during that time, consumerism was at an all-time high. It was a time to cash in. There was money on the table. And, I was trying to do as much as I could to make sure I was getting that flowing. And I just kept doing that. And I was making pieces that didn't resonate with me anymore, but there was money on the table. I wasn't taking enough time for myself. First and foremost, like I needed rest to be able to find inspiration and to find my why. And I just wasn't doing that. And so I got just to a point where like, I mean, yeah, I was having mental breakdowns all the time. My mental health was in a terrible place. And I just didn't feel motivated, or I didn't have a direction. And I felt pretty aimless. And that's a whole other thing on your mental psyche, right? It's exhausting. And when you are doing something like art, that's my biggest motivator is art. And you're putting yourself out there, you know, you live within your art, and putting that out there in the world is tough. And I am kind of like an existentialist, I think, and I think very conceptually. So I'm always like, thinking a little too hard.
I love that. Well, I mean, a lot of people are in their head a lot, it's okay. So how have you kind of like navigated doing things for the art versus like the money? Because you mentioned to me that you're not really motivated by money, but you are motivating yourself to like cash in during
Yes.
a busy time. So let's
Yeah.
talk about that.
Yeah. So I went to art school, and I went to a very conceptual art school. So it was like
Which
all about
school?
the why. It's DAP. It's here at the University of Cincinnati, Design, Architecture, Art, and Planning. And it was such a conceptual school, and I love that part of it. I would say most of my classmates didn't. Like you couldn't just make something because it was pretty. You had to have some reason why. I find myself needing reasons for my art. I want to look at them. I want to see the emotion, the feeling. I want to know what inspired me. And pushing myself to really make money, it's gotten easier over time, for sure. And finding those pieces that I know will just do the work for me. But it's tough reconciling that like motivator, because of course I want to make money, but at the end of the day, I'm a dreamer, and that's my heads are up all in the clouds.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I still have a hard time with it. But I will say after TYC, I feel so much more directional. I don't feel aimless. I have like very clear, proven ways to make money. So I can look to those things and know, like, okay, I can focus on art, I can be a dreamer, but now I know the direction to how I turn those dreams into, I guess, actionable money strategies. I tend to live by the idea that like everything is going to be okay in the end. We just don't know how yet.
Hmm.
Something my grandmother used to say all the time.
I love that.
And that's how I try to think about money. One of my friends gave me this amazing motto, and I use it all the time. It's just the money is on its way. It just is.
Hmm.
It's always on its way. As long as you're working towards it, it's on its way. It's going to come. Opportunity is everywhere. You just have to like look for it.
Yep. Money is on its way. I love that. So good. So you referenced the TYC. We haven't really brought it up. The TYC is our Train Your Customers to Buy From You online program. It's a 12-week online accelerator, and you joined for our cohort that we did last year. And throughout the entire cohort, the coaches were like, Morgan is awesome. You need to talk to her. She's like fully engaged. You and Kim, you guys the besties, like you were all into it. And so I'm just curious, like, when we were chatting, like why did you decide to join the program first and foremost? Like, what was your impetus in joining?
I was directionless. I just didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have any structure. I didn't have much of a routine. And I was desperate to find someone, something to help me find that.
Okay.
But also learning along the way. That was important to me. I want to know why I'm doing things.
How did that structure influence you and like kind of overcoming this burnout situation that you were in?
Yeah. So through the course, I loved being in the group setting. I think that comes from my history in art school, being in a studio setting where you have like you can have mind melds, you can all really talk through things. And that encouragement from others and working with others showed me that I'm not alone, like we were talking about earlier. I'm not alone in this, and that I can keep pushing. And I can also
Or
like
allowing.
or allowing, yeah, or I can rest. I can rest. Money is always on its way. But during that program, really what gave me the energy to start getting out of burnout in my work was just having that structure, having these proven systems that I can continue to go back on. I've saved all of the workbooks, all of the videos, all of these things. So I just have those at my fingertips. And I guess it's like it's a nice safety net in a way. Like I know that it's there and I know that I can turn to it. But I also built so much confidence during the course, was able to show myself that you do know what you're doing. You just need some extra help. There's some things that you just don't know about. And like, here's an opportunity to learn with others and how to do this. And that community aspect was really everything for me.
And how did that affect your mindset?
The accountability groups, just being able to, I mean, we whined together, we're commiserating, like, oh my God, I feel this or that, or I don't know how the hell to do this.
Yep.
And through those accountability courses or groups, I was able to really talk through all of that and get these other perspectives. And I was told that it's okay. I think when we work alone, I mean, I'm alone all the time when I'm working, and I don't really have someone next to me telling me it's okay. Or like, you got this, or this is how you can do this. I can boil it down to a very specific instance, a time thing that I heard. For the life of me, I can't remember her name, who came in and did the like mindset coaching.
Sherry. Yeah, Sherry,
Sherry,
one of our coaches.
Sherry, yes,
Yeah.
Sherry. She said there's no such thing as being behind. I say that all the time. I tell my friends that. My whole like outlook on my business was flipped in that single phrase. It's like, this is my journey. I don't need to be comparing myself to other people, especially when art is more of my motivator than money. I don't feel that I need to scramble and push all the way into burnout to make money. I think that if I'm inspired and I'm working slowly to build those systems and structures for myself, I'm already starting to get into so much more of a flow where I feel like it's all just happening. Yeah, just knowing there's no such thing as being behind. There
Mhm.
just isn't. Life is not linear. I've never lived a linear life. And why should I do that in my business?
Also, time, according to some people, time is a construct. So,
Yeah,
you know,
I think that too. I mean, I really do. I mean, it's like some people meet the person of their dreams and they know that that's the person within, I don't know, an hour sometimes. I'm sure that
yeah,
exists. But yeah, I think that's the same in just about anything you do.
exactly. Oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to like text Sherry after this and be like,
Oh, I think about
girl,
her all the time.
you
All
do.
the time. She's in
I
my
tell
head.
her.
She lives rent free in my head.
I
It's
love
her
that.
saying it when I hear it.
I love that so much. So, you talked a little bit about kind of being aimless and not knowing where to go, and you joined the TYC and it gave you a lot of structure. What was the thing that made you want to join the program?
I think that I was just like mentally, I was where I was at and all of my thoughts and thinking, I don't know what I'm doing. I need structure. And you know what? You popped up on Instagram. You popped up on Instagram and I was like, what the hell? I'll see like what this is about. I think I did a master class. And what was so nice, I've taken plenty of master classes, and it's always like some BS, by the end, you're like, cool, just wasted an hour of my life. Thank you for that. But this, I felt like, I think this could work. This could. And I was, I was really hesitant. Let me like be honest. There's a lot of fake people out there. There's a lot of fake programs. There's a lot of money grabbers that don't actually care about their program or the people that are in it. So I was nervous. Maybe that was what this was going to be. And I'd pay it twice over just for this mind shift I've had. I don't know if I'm drilling it in enough how transformative this class was for me. I know I want to be where I am without it. I can definitely say that.
That's amazing. So, what were some of like your favorite parts about the program?
You know what? My favorite thing was actionable. Like, I got homework that I was excited about, but also we did stuff in class.
Yep.
So I had that accountability. I had that time. That was so wonderful. Building a routine around the class frame and the times of the classes was awesome. I mean, it was just wonderful because I knew I have this block of time, and I always gave myself another block of time to work more on after that class. And so I just always knew that it was there for me and that I was going to get stuff done. I have a hard time getting stuff done. So I knew it was going to be there. And one of my good friends did the course with me, name's Isis from Little Pieces. I talked her into joining it with me. And I was like, we can do it together. Like, we can have, Zooms and we can work on stuff together, which is exactly what we did. We had about a Zoom each week. I think we usually did on Mondays. And we went through stuff that we went through in class, and we just got even deeper into things. Sometimes we just commiserated, but about
Bring
the
a
things
buddy.
that but the actionable aspect of the class of the whole class was really important to me. And that was actually one of my first questions when I had my little pre-interview. I was like,
Mhm.
am I actually going to get stuff done, or am I
Yeah.
going to walk away feeling like, okay, now I have all of this stuff that I can work on myself, but I'm not going to have that accountability. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons why we restructure the program the way it is, because we do a training and then and during that training, it's like a workshop style training. So we stop and go and you're doing the work as we go. And then several days later, we have you like implement what you've done. You bring the work back for feedback and then you move it into action. Like that's the whole thing. It's like our goal is always to help you make money. You mentioned to me something that you made do you want to talk about that?
Oh, yes. Yeah. So within the first 2 weeks, I made my money back, my investment back from this course. And of course, that was like, the biggest fear is you're throwing money away, and
Yeah.
I absolutely didn't. And actually, that was going to be my second thing that I loved so much was the fast cash strategies. I love it. I did it again this year. There's just so many different ideas, and I got so many from them, things that I would never think of doing. That was so fun, and we dove right into that immediately. So that was reassuring to me when I first started the course. I was like, oh, we're off. We're doing it. And that felt good. Like, okay, I'm ready to dive into this. And signing up as like early as I did, and I know that I wasn't even in the earliest group, but I had all of this time to like get excited and like get worked up about it, get a little nervous about it. And yeah, those first 2 weeks, I was like, all right, I'm sold. Like I'm here.
I love it.
It works.
You're so great. I love it. So how did your business grow and change after taking the program?
If we're talking like percentage wise, my business grew. The sales alone went up by about 25%, 26% to be exact. And the total number of orders went up by 20%. And the traffic that I was able to drive to my site was by 11%. And I do want to also like stress this with like, I was not one of the most actionable like students in this class. I really wasn't. I showed up, I was enthusiastic, and I learned a lot. But I think that even if I had even drilled harder, I could only imagine where those percentages would be.
That's awesome.
And it's possible. It is.
So my last question for you is, to someone listening to this podcast who might be thinking about taking their next step in their business, or maybe they're feeling burnt out and they need a little dose of inspiration, or they're kind of thinking maybe about the TYC program, what would you say to them?
What's so funny is someone actually just asked me the other day. They reached out and said that they were thinking about the program. And I said, it's actionable. You're going to get in, you're actually going to do things. It's not some silly like Instagram masterclass you see, and then by the end of it, you're like, cool, that was a sales pitch. And you are going to make your money back. I can't stress that enough. You are going to make your money back. As long as you do some work, it's going to happen. Don't let the money be what stops you from doing this. Risk equals success and reward. And you're going to make friends. Like, that's wonderful. You're going to make friends. You're going to get the warm and fuzzies. At least I did. I got the warm and fuzzies. And I also like, if you do it, like, do it. Get into it. Be vocal. Like, I think that I got a lot more out of it. I'm making assumptions. I think that I could have gotten more out of it than other people who were not as vocal. I was not afraid to ask questions. No question is dumb. I'm going to ask them all. And also it was fun to give my own feedback to people and then have them come to me and be like, hey, that worked. And I was able to do that vice versa. So the community aspect is great. And yeah, just don't hesitate. Just take the risk, take the plunge, and no matter what, you're going to have fun and you're going to learn like a crazy amount. Too much, actually, sometimes. You won't be able to contain it all.
Yeah, I love that so much. Morgan, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you for having me. This gave me the warm and fuzzies.
Yay! I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you like what you saw, make sure that you subscribe and grab notifications for our YouTube channel so you're notified every single time that we post a new video. And if you have a key takeaway from today's episode, make sure that you share it in the comments below. On a final note, if you're someone who wants to join us for our Train Your Customers to Buy From You Online program, we are open for enrollment right now. Head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/TYC and see how this 12-week sales accelerator can transform your business. All right, ciao for now.